protest, Alice? Have you done that?
A protest?
Yeah, any kind of protest for anything? Stand out? No, you've done a stand out, but not a protest.
Yeah, no.
Have you done any like performative thing on social media? Like, this is the slut walk in your face, or like no putting out until you vote for referendum question 6.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Have you ever been a part of anything like that?
Not quite like that. No, I don't think so.
Can't imagine.
I've been seeing a lot of stuff on social media lately, though, about how we live in a time of revisionist history about the 60s, and that, like, the 60s, far from being all peaceful flower children, was actually full of violence and
totally
terrorism and stuff, and that.
Yeah, no, it's not. If you write all the books about it and write all the movies about it, no, it's wonderful and fun.
Well, it was good because Mark, who's frequently in our chat, Mark in Wakefield, he had a piece out this weekend that he actually tweeted. If you go on our Twitter, I think we both retweeted it, but he had a good piece in the Wakefield Daily Item about the fact that all these protests are a senior movement, is what he called it. He wrote, do you want me to read a tiny bit of this?
Yes.
If you ventured down to downtown Wakefield last Saturday morning, you may have thought you'd stumbled upon an open-air AARP meeting. In reality, it was a couple of dozen Woodstock alumni holding handmade, or is it handmade? Get it? Handmade still. Signs proclaiming their disapproval of the current administration in Washington. It was advertised as a gathering to protest current government policies. If it wasn't immediately clear to you whether federal, state, or local government policies were being assailed, then you definitely were not the target audience. But the in-crowd, they were hip to it. Similar protests have been happening in Melrose for several weeks, and monkey see, monkey do. As Melrose goes, so goes Wakefield, usually a month or so later. The signs the aging activists were holding at the corner of Main and Water Streets looked like they were created by art school dropouts. There were placards saying, "Stop the coup," "Fire Musk," and "Hands off Medicaid." I didn't see any ping pong paddles, but I'm sure those are in the works as we speak. There were a couple of signs proclaiming, "We are the 99% that appeared to be left over from the 2011 Occupy Wall Street movement."
1,000 ways.
Exactly. You just knew those signs would come in handy again. But this groovy group appeared to be reliving their glory days from a much earlier time. And they haven't been this angry since Dylan went electric.
Nice bit of writing, Mark. Well done. He's a great writer, but I just love to hear it anyway.
A sign that read, "No kings in America" might have made some sense in 1776, but this is what happens when you don't teach history. Another sign declared, "Elon has your bank account number and social security number." Other signs sported cliched slogans like "resist" and "no oligarchy." Signs declaring, "hands off our social security" were de rigueur given the average age of the protesters. Beyond conspicuous virtue signaling, it's not clear what purpose protests like these serve in a town and state that voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. Whom exactly are they trying to convince? The protest was scheduled to run from 11 a.m. to 12 noon, and like clockwork, as soon as the hour ended, the resistance fighters climbed into their gas-powered cars and split for their cozy suburban homes. But rest assured, they'll be back again this Saturday. The oligarchy isn't going to fight itself, after all.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, I mean, and Splash in the chat says, the elder hippie white women, long gray hair, barren womb. I can't read the rest, I'm sorry.
That's great. That is so great. Oh, it is so, like...
But yeah, it is. It's all the 60s boomers out here. And if you look at the people they interviewed in Colorado this weekend, too, the Sunday shows who came out for the Bernie Sanders protest, it's like all reliving the glory days of the big protest movement. The left doesn't know what to do if it's not protesting.
No, they don't know what to do. And now this is the newest iteration of this.
We will not be silenced. The silent riot has begun.
If you don't realize, Alice, from hearing that...
We will not be silenced. The silent riot has begun.
I don't know what that is.
They're looking into the camera. This is TikTok or Instagram saying, "We will not be silent. The silent riot has now begun." Okay, and much like Mark has these are the right ages.
Mm-hmm.
We will not be silent. The silent riot has begun.
They're part of the silent riot, and it's in progress. If you didn't know that, Alice.
We will not be silent.
The silent riot has begun.
We will not be silent. The silent riot.
Thank you, young
has
lady. You
begun.
are a star. Thank you.
Surprise, surprise.
We will not be silenced. The silent riot has begun.
This lady I really like because she's got 153 million filters on. She's probably in her mid-80s, but she's doing...
But she looks like a Kardashian in the video because she's...
And so, this is my concern is this.
Mm-hmm.
This exact demographic, these women, this exact demographic...
Yeah. I'm sorry, we have a dog.
Oh.
Anson,
You sure?
can you let Pepper out and let her back in?
So once you let her out, wait there and then let her back in, okay? Thank you. This could be the dog wanting to go out, or the dog wants McDonald's from the table, and she knows that the weakest rank of security is downstairs right now.
We will not be silent. The silent riot has begun.
The silent riot has begun. We will not be silent ever again.
So here's my my worry is this.
Mm-hmm. Your worry is this?
My worry is this. Is that this is devolving. We're now at the level where we have grown adults wiping feces on Teslas.
Right, on video.
Right. We have people who have never done a thing like a bit of damage or destruction of property in their lives. These are 67-year-old librarians or, genetic engineers. Is that a thing? Genetic engineer? I don't know. Whatever. Women who are taking it upon themselves to key cars. They don't know. They've never done that before. They're becoming low-level terrorists.
Right.
And then you've got the silent riot people. And this is it. The silent riot begins. The silent riot has begun. It's the official website, silentriot.org, call to action, video 1.
What's the point of this? What are they not being silent about? None of them has told me yet.
What do you mean? They're not...
Is there any content here? Or are they just
it's
not
a silent
being
riot.
Gotcha.
There's instructions here. It says, silent riot has begun. For your first video, use the following script to create your first collective video on Saturday, March 22nd. Is that today? Oh, that was yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
Oh, is today the Destroy Tesla's Day? Is that next week? Start video. For 5 seconds, stay silent. Then say, we will not be silenced. The silent riot has begun. And then end video. There's instructions.
Does anyone know why they're doing this?
Well, this is the guy.
This is it. The moment we take back control. They want us silent. They want us compliant. But together, we are an unstoppable force. Our collective voices on a digital platform will send shockwaves. We all have phones and we all know how to make a video. And this is how we can come together and protest in a digital world. On March 22nd, 2025 at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, the silent riot begins. All of our voices gathered together on a digital platform. Here's how to take part in this beginning of the digital uprising. We will begin to create videos that will pull our voices together. This will hit the algorithms all at once. If we post together, we will be heard. The first video will be a simple 10-second video that you will post on March 22nd, 2025 at 1 p.m. Mountain
start with a
Standard
question
Time
here?
on any or all.
Are they under the impression that the reason why all this is happening is that we haven't heard anything from them?
Yes.
Like, we just, Elon Musk's evil algorithm has prevented us from hearing from all our insane neighbors and friends that there's rising fascism and the threat of oligarchy and we're losing our democracy. And, like, do they think that they need to, like, pull some secret trick to overcome the algorithm so we can hear them say that because we haven't heard it yet?
Well, yes.
I mean,
well,
like,
so
really, like, we've all heard from them. I know that they think, and this is part of the left's whole thing, is like, oh, we just need to educate people and then they'll see. Like, they think that it's the misinformation that's out there that's somehow, like, tricking people into believing stuff that's not true. But actually, like, we've all heard their side, right? And this was the point you raised today about the left-wing protesters who are showing up at town halls and pretending to be Republicans who regret their vote at town halls, and how, like, none of them act anything like a Republican. Like, they have no idea what Republicans would be like or the type of thing they'd be upset about.
Sally, let's give that another try, shall we?
But we've all heard their thing. Like, any one of us or any one of our listeners could all pretend to be one of these liberals in a second because we've all heard all their stuff 500 times in the last 10 years.
Of course.
Like, there's no...
We've only heard in the last 10 years.
We're not regretting our vote because you've been silenced by a social media algorithm and we didn't realize that you had these brilliant nuggets. And if we'd only heard you be a little bit more outraged about Elon Musk on social media, then we would have seen the error of our ways and not voted for Trump. Like,
no,
that's not what happened.
That's right. And we've seen it again and again and again. And not only that, but you decided, look, first you're doing, and it's this weird thing where they're only seeing each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Facebook people who we know who are only talking to other Facebook people, and others, you know.
Mostly even their friends are ignoring them.
Yeah, 2/3 of their friends think they're nuts.
Including in some cases, like, their spouses never like or comment on anything.
So now they're on to the next thing. They're trying to bring the world to its knees now to see how upset they are about. They don't know why they're upset. They're upset because Trump and mean Tom Homan and Elon Musk threw a gay barber in a Venezuelan jail or something.
Maybe.
Because Trump and Elon Musk, in a mean way, took a married couple who's been here for 30 years, breaking law for 30 years, and deported them.
And by the way, we're asked to leave by an immigration court in the year 2000.
And because Trump and Elon Musk looked for every brown person they could find, whether or not they had a soccer jersey, and according to the left, they actually went to real soccer games, grabbed anybody brown, and threw them over the border into El Salvador. And that's what's happening right now. That's what the left is saying. So that's why they have to do the silent riot, because all the evil is happening at once. And screw Teslas. And there you go. I get to not only take my 17 psychotropic drugs, but I get to yell at somebody in a Tesla who was the neighbor you liked most 3 months ago. Because these are all progressives in these Teslas for the most part. These are all your people. And now you've become a weird authoritarian a-hole saying, in order to save the world from authoritarian a-holes, I order you to either destroy your Tesla or I'll give you leniency. You can sell it.
You didn't know before.
But I'm slipping a swastika sticker on it so you know. And I'm the good person here. Okay?
By the way,
these people also did last year. Remember, Alice, like 3 weeks ago was the don't buy anything and bring Amazon to its knees. Right? So none of these things are working whatsoever. Everybody now is your boyfriend, Jeff Rowe. Everybody is your guy from 1,000 Ways. You just need a little bit of him. He needs to make a comeback.
We were talking about activism and the roles that we play.
Yeah, we play.
We were talking about Silent Riot and how our money was spent. How it was spent. So here it is.
little Mr. Gloucester, he didn't actually bleep anybody back. By the way, there was nobody to bleep back.
Doesn't he just work in a brewery now?
Yes, because the people who he is vilifying as the cause of all the problems paid for all his college and all the nice things he has.
Mm-hmm.
So what he is just a loser. And now, and that's, by the way, there's a good millennial doing it. But now you've got these people who never talk to anybody else, and they're saying, "Are you doing the silent riot? Yeah, let's do it, guys. Let's cross the streams. Let's put our powers together like the Avengers. Let's do
Captain Planet."
They're not in it.
Our powers combined.
I'm worried because it reminds me of my mother when she was with us. There's a certain thing that people too old, like, and I'll mess around with Gen Z sayings just to be that guy to my kids to make them more uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But like with the silent riot thing, there's a certain people of, and I'll say certain age. I'll say 45 and up, 45 to 95 now, where we're not supposed to be doing this, neighbors and friends. You're not supposed to be on TikTok with the selfie thing, looking stoic for 5 seconds, and we're going to do the silent riot. You're going to hear us roar. Because mostly during the day, you're a bank teller and you're nice and you like refill the lollipops. You're not this fighter that you think you are. But they think they're onto something because it's a lot younger than them. We're going to use the power of TikTok, guys, shall we? Let's do it. And it reminds me a little bit.
We're going to bring the algorithm to its knees.
My mother found discovered what the verb Google meant as a verb in 2006 and wouldn't stop with it with my brother and I. And we had the big function. And we were talking to each other, and we said, where do you think we should do this? What do you think? And my mother kept saying, Google it. Because she had learned it. She had learned that you Google things. It's a verb. Guess what? Mm-hmm. Google it. And like anything at all we talked about, like where should we bring the guys tonight? Should we do Google it? Like, okay. I understand you think you're onto something here, and I appreciate that, Mom. We love you very, very much. Okay, but stop it. Stop it. Stop with we're on to a new kind of revolution where we act terrible in person if we're going to do anything at all. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do the silent riot. For reasons, by the way, that they had no idea. Nobody ever before this year, before right now, on the left, and mostly on the right too, had any idea who was getting deported. Had any idea where they were going once they got deported.
Tons of people got deported all the time under Biden and Obama. And
these people who are saying now, well, that one's a gay barber and not a killer. Were you upset when all the killers were deported from their country and sent here? Well, did that get a silent riot? Because I don't remember that it did.
And all the suddenly experts in tattoos of
it resembled
Spanish
Real Madrid.
Team. Real Madrid's logo, obviously.
They didn't even say, they said it resembles.
Yeah, which, by the way, I'm not like a tattoo or a soccer team expert, but the photo they're doing of the side-by-side of the soccer team's logo and his tattoo looks nothing like each other. This soccer player and the couple who has been deported after living in the United States for 35 years was told by an immigration judge that their asylum claim was denied and that they needed to go back to, I forget what country they even came from. Colombia? I don't remember. But they need to go back to their other country because not liking the country you live in does not constitute an asylum claim. And, like, not everybody, despite what Michelle Wu says, has the God-given right to just come to America for any reason. Like, there's people who've been waiting for visas for years. And these articles about this couple that's in California that's lived here for 35 years and has gone to all their immigration hearings as they've applied for asylum and continually been denied asylum, and they're being told to go home. Like, what do you want? And they're like, well, there's no way to get citizenship. Yeah, there's no way to get citizenship if you walk into the country illegally and stay here for 35 freaking years. Be happy that your 3 kids that you had here that get birthright citizenship are allowed to stay here, because no other country on earth does that, by the way. Where you can be an illegal immigrant in a country and birth a child and they have citizenship. So they have 3 adult daughters who now live here and are citizens. Like, they get to stay, but it's like, you made an asylum claim and it was denied. All of this is an entirely legal process. This isn't even like the Venezuelan people, where there's legitimate constitutional questions here about this 1798 law and all this stuff. And I think it's very complicated and has essentially never been tested, and we'll find out what we find out. Like, I don't really know if it's legal or not legal, but I mean, this one, the couple who's been here 35 years case seems pretty cut and dried. Like, they came here illegally and they did their asylum claim, and the immigration judges told them to go the F home. 25 years ago, they told them to go the F home, and they didn't. Like, I mean, what they've exhausted legal remedies. They have legal representation. They've been fighting this, and they were told to go home. I don't know what people want. Like, do people just think everybody has the right to be in America?
Yes. I mean, that's what's being said, is it not?
Yeah, but didn't that used to be a matter of actual policy debate a few years ago? Like, whether or not there should be a path to citizenship for people who came here illegally or not? Didn't that used to be like an actual debate? Now people are acting like people don't realize there's no path to citizenship if you come here illegally. Like, of course people realize that. We've been talking about whether or not we should have one as a matter of political debate for 30 years. Have we not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because Reagan let people have amnesty in the 80s.
Yes.
And that already was a problem. And so people have been burned. And so now people specifically don't want to let there be a path to citizenship if you come to the United States illegally. Right? Like, does everyone have amnesia?
Yes. Yes, everybody has amnesia, Alice. This is not, everything starts fresh after January 21st. So here we are with starting fresh. And so there are people who have who I haven't heard from. The mom from Groton, who my old friend who was yelling at the Trump kid, her friend's 14-year-old, she has not posted at all. She is checked out.
I'm sure her therapist told her she needs to, like, take a step back or something.
Well, that means she's got one of the few good therapists that I hear about. Because, but I'm sure, in her friend, my other friend, nothing. Like, there are some people who have decided, I'm not going to let this TV show get to me.
Right.
I'm not going to. And I think it comes from just how your survival instinct goes, because it has been, if you're somebody whose reason to be has been hating Trump, this has been a tough year and a half for you, because you had him right there. You had him right there going to jail, losing all his stuff. You were so close, getting shot to death. You had all the good stuff was just about to happen, and then it didn't. And then you're already shell-shocked enough because this guy came back, and now he's doing all sorts of stuff that seems so mean stuff all over the place, left and right. He's not hugging, bear hugging Zelensky, and all this other. And so I think there are some people who just said, oh, I need to make a change. The change should be to get away from this so I can, because I have to look, or also some of them probably looked around and said, half of the country feels this way. Maybe I'm being generous here. So either they're all Nazis in this country, or maybe something else is happening. Maybe something else.
Yeah, so it's interesting. There was a lot of polling out this week. And Politico had a really nice write-up of this that actually, like, landed in my email inbox. That was interesting. And it fits in, like, with what we're seeing in real life and what we're seeing, like, at the AOC and Bernie Sanders rally and these other things, which is, I mean, their headline is, polls are confirming Democrats' worst nightmare. We dug into the polls. Democrats in Congress should be very afraid. Democratic voters are even angrier than you think. And it talks about how Democrats are unpopular, not just, like, nationally with moderates and stuff, right? With, like, the undecided voters. Democrats are unpopular with Democrats in a way that's almost without precedent. The only time in like modern political history where a party has been this unpopular with their own voters is the Republicans in the Tea Party movement time period between like essentially 2013 and 2015, when, you know, they sort of had this Tea Party movement stuff. Scott Brown got in there. All these things were happening. But then there was like all this energy, and the Republicans in Washington like weren't doing what the Tea Party actually wanted. And so there was this like restive energy, and the party base like hated the party. And that's like when we got Trump. You know what I mean? So like this 2013
culminating in milquetoast Mitt Romney's defeat.
Right. So, and I think that's like what you see is, you know, Republicans were at like 39% net approval, you know, like 39% more people liked their own party on the Republican side than disliked it in 2011. In 2013, that went down to minus 15 for the Republicans. It was minus 7 in 2015. And then in 2017, once Trump got elected, it was up to plus 35 again. So the Republican Party's own approval with its voters has been positive ever since, including now like plus 69% in 2025. The Democratic Party has not been negative ever at any point in the last 15 years until now when they're minus 9. So 49% of the Democratic Party's own voters now disapprove of the job that their own party in Congress is doing.
Can I ask you something? And I guess you're just speculating. Where do you think this was last year? What do you think sentiment was by Democrats? I know that you don't have the information there.
Yeah,
probably,
so this is only going by every other year, but it was plus 54%. They were popular with their own party mid-Biden administration. Like in 2023, they were plus 54%. Now they're minus 9% within their own party.
Okay, so this dissatisfaction is, how could you guys F this up?
Yeah, I think
it's much the same reason that like we're talking about these Groton moms who have disengaged, who are saying, you had him, he was indicted in 67 counts. You had him, the documents. You had the New York stuff. You had him paying off hookers. You had him, the judge said he raped somebody. You were going to take his business, which he overvalued. You had all this stuff. You had everything.
I watched Rachel Maddow every night.
He did January 6th, which you told me was bigger than September 11th. All the things. And you guys lost. You told us. It was for democracy. And then, remember what they did the moment he won?
Capitulated?
We're going to work with him.
Yeah. And that's actually...
And they said he was Hitler.
Yeah, and that's what the Democratic Party polling like is indicating right now, is that the party is very divided on whether they actually want the party to like move left or move right or what they want to do. The biggest frustration that cuts across like the moderates and the progressives is they're like, why are you guys working with Donald Trump and caving to him when you told us this was like fascism and our democracy at stake? You need to do what their party base right now is freaking out about, and why they're angry at him is essentially like, why are you working with this guy? Why are you not doing more to resist? Right?
Well, absolutely right. And you're giving him
at Schumer.
Okay, that's what I was getting to, yeah.
Where they're mad at Schumer for, you know, funding the government, essentially caving and passing the continuing resolution to keep the government open, which I think, honestly, like Trump would have been better off if they'd chosen to not fund the government. I think that was probably smart of Schumer to fund the government and not give Trump this tool to say that it was legal for him to cut everything because Congress holds the power of the purse, right? So if Congress doesn't fund the government, Trump can cut all these departments and, you know, there's no legal reason saying like, oh, Congress put the money there. We'll talk about that with the impoundments.
But
and stuff,
all the silent riot people saw was Trump giving Schumer giving Trump what he wanted,
right? And
Trump thanking Schumer loudly afterwards. And they saw that and said, "How the hell could you do this for this Nazi? You're funding all this Nazism. You're not seeing what's around here. Are you not seeing that what Tesla did to soccer players?"
So they are, and Splash says this in the chat, Dems are going to have to either go completely neutral or so far off the edge of the left that they force a civil war. Like, that's a decision that their party has to make right now. You're either going to be, like, a Newsom, I'm going to start a podcast and talk to all the right wingers and like, we're going to be reasonable and get along guy, which this is funny now because now there's a bunch of people opening up all these questions about, is it even ethical for him to be getting these big lucrative podcast deals where he's making a bleep load of money with iHeartRadio for these podcast deals?
I don't like her down there.
So that's fun because his own party, I assume, is getting him in trouble now over the podcast deals because they're mad.
Amazing.
So they're either going to go that way, or as Splash says here, Dems don't think their party is insane enough. There's a bunch of them who think, and based on the polling, it sounds like a little less than half of Democrats thinks their party needs to moderate, and about 30% thinks they need to go farther left, and about 20% thinks they're like great right now as they are. So it's sort of, they're, like I say, they're very divided on if they should, like, what their policy position should actually be. The one thing they seem to agree on is that their party needs to do more to fight Trump, but they don't seem to really know what that is. So like Bernie Sanders and AOC are on a tour right now to tell the country that they need to do more to fight Trump. There's rumors that AOC is going to challenge Schumer.
Let's go through some of these cuts here. This is first Schumer this morning, or I think it was this today, I think.
They released it today, but I mean,
no, this is
him,
Schumer.
like, right before, yeah.
Do you agree, is the United States in a constitutional crisis?
Yes, I do, Kristen, and democracy is at risk. Look, Donald Trump is a lawless, angry man. He thinks he should be king. He thinks he should do whatever he wants, regardless of the law. And he thinks judges should just listen to him. Now, we have to fight that back in every single way.
Which is fine if you don't sign the continuing resolution, which you did.
Exactly.
So that's out the window. Here's a few Jonathan Karl with Bernie Sanders, who, by the way, I think had a good day today.
Is there anything that you think Trump has done right?
Yeah, I mean, I think cracking down on fentanyl, making sure our borders are stronger. Look, nobody thinks that illegal immigration is appropriate. And I happen to think we need comprehensive immigration reform. But I don't think that it's appropriate for people to be coming across the border illegally. So we've got to work now on comprehensive immigration reform. The idea that Trump has, I don't know what his latest numbers are, he wants to deport 20 million people who are in this country who are undocumented. Well, you do that, you destroy the entire country, because I got news for you. Trump's billionaire friends are not going to pick the crops in California that feed us. They're not going to work in meat packing houses. That's what undocumented people are doing.
I do have a question on this because they're saying that they're fighting oligarchy and that Donald Trump is working on behalf of this oligarchy of millionaires and billionaires. But if that's true, then wouldn't he be keeping the undocumented workers here to pick the crops and work in the hotels?
Yeah.
Which is what both parties, by the way, have been doing for decades while the American people are like, why do we have illegal immigrants? And the millionaires and billionaires are like, because we need them to like work all these jobs really cheaply. And the politicians are like, oh, okay, yeah, we just need them, okay? Like,
right.
We're about 60 days into the Trump era, the second Trump era. How would you grade the Democratic Party's response?
Well, I would take us back even 2 years before that, before Trump was elected, and saying that it saddens me that when the Democrats had control of the Senate, they did virtually nothing for working people. And I have to say that I'm a member of the Democratic caucus as an independent, so I'm not going to lie to you and tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
And since then, do I think the Democrats have been effective in rallying the American people in stopping Trump's movement toward oligarchy and authoritarianism? No, I don't.
So that's as big an FU to Schumer as his colleague can give him, which brings us to my favorite part of the interview today, when he flew off the handle. I've interviewed Bernie Sanders too. We had video and TV there and all that stuff.
he's as grumpy as he seems.
He cut us short too. He just got up and left right in the middle of the thing.
Back when I first came to the Congress and the House, I helped form the Progressive Caucus. We had 5 people at that time. Now they got close to 100. So you got a whole lot of good people. Alexandra is extraordinary. I am so impressed by her work in Congress, and she inspires young people all over the country.
Would you like to see her join in the Senate?
right now we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
No, I asked you.
Okay.
You want to do nonsense, do nonsense.
No.
I don't want to talk about inside the Beltway stuff. I got 32,000 people.
I was just asking you about AOC because she was out there with you.
Fine, but I don't want to talk about this. What was the last question?
I was just going to ask you one more question about you. I mean, that's all. I was literally your last.
What is your question?
Well, I mean, it's easier to understand. I mean, I want to ask you about your future. This is the biggest crowd. You said you ran for president twice. This is the biggest crowd you've ever seen. Are we going to see you run again, or what's your future?
No, right now, I am very proud that the people of the state of Vermont sent me back to the Senate with 63% of the vote. Right now, I'm Vermont senator. That's what I do, and I'm very happy to do it. I am 83 years of age, and I'm tired.
All right.
So perfect timing. You showed up just in time for the end of the interview. Bernie says he's not running for president again. He's 83 years old and he's tired. But yeah, we heard
that was a good move by Bernie. If he can be, I mean, that's some pluck. That's interesting, and that's real Bernie. That's real. You mentioned today something interesting about Bernie, just personality-wise.
Did I? I don't know.
Going to how real he is. He's not constructed. He's not a composite of 86
Oh, yeah, I told you he's
intersectional points.
I said to you that Bernie Sanders, whatever flaws he may have and things I disagree with him on and hypocrisies of how many houses he has versus the socialism he preaches or whatever, all the things, right? At least I think Bernie Sanders is straight.
He's straight.
That is not a lie.
For a, musty Vermont socialist, he's actually not weird.
Yeah, he's pretty normal.
You can see
socialist
based on the visual. I forgot
old guy.
Whoever used to say he used to comb his hair with a balloon. You can see Bernie Sanders 100 meters away, and you know exactly what his personality is. And you were right; it is.
Yeah, no, he's a real person. You're getting what you get. Like, it sucks in a lot of cases. I assume it really sucks if you're like a service person in a store who you need something from.
And I assume at a restaurant you're getting around 11 to 13% tip.
But yeah, and I mean all the stuff about his multiple houses and his whatever.
Maybe that's what they like about him is that he's the real thing.
Right, Tim Walz, they have to pretend something.
A lot of things with Tim Walz. Which, by the way, I'm going to play this cut. I wish I didn't have to. I don't like playing it because it...
So, Splash says it well in the chat. I admire Bernie's honesty, but his ideas are idiotic and indicative of a guy who never really had to work in the real world. Yeah.
No.
He's never had to work. He's never had to be out in the real world. It's fine, but he is what he is.
Listen to his Tim Walz. Somebody is putting him out there. David Hogg, I assume, is putting him out there, and he's got it.
Well, because David Hogg is stupid enough to really believe the hype that the Democrats gave themselves this year, where he thinks that he's still young enough that he doesn't remember all the other failed campaigns where people puffed themselves up and then thought they were awesome and then realized they just weren't actually that awesome.
Well, yeah.
He's new, so he believes all the stuff that the coconut trees and the coach stuff was original and brilliant and really was catching fire, but they just didn't have quite enough time because
he went right from child influencer star theater kid right into Harvard and never, if somebody just let the guy work in the real world for 3 years at a Target or for the town somewhere.
Literally anything. Just scoop ice cream at an ice cream stand for a summer. Really.
It's some city jobs. Work at a ticket place or on the trolley tour. Work somewhere where you will learn just from being out in the world
how people are.
And you will bump into many Tim Walzes out there.
This guy bugs me in a way that is probably unhealthy.
Elon.
And but I have to be careful about being a smartass. I was making a joke. These people have no sense of humor. They are the most literal people. But my point was they're all mad, and I, said something I didn't, probably shouldn't have about a company. He is agreed. So I make the case. They're all butthurt about the Tesla thing.
Yeah. I saw a great post today.
We don't say butthurt, Tim. Somebody around Tim, because you're not helping him because you're playing around with his charade. We don't say butthurt. We just don't. Just don't say it. Just stop letting him say that. Stop letting I don't understand. Like, why if he can't help exploding into dazzling, flaming character every time you put him on stage as America's tough, masculine dad, then you need to box him up for a while and put him somewhere else. You can't do this.
Right, and definitely take certain words out of his vocabulary.
Oh. Can you... Anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
If you had told me that this guy... If I just saw this speech, I'd be 70% there.
Well,
Hold on, let me finish this thought.
Okay.
1 second. And it wouldn't take very much at all. If I saw this speech, I'd be 70% there.
Mind your own damn business.
Okay. You then tell me that guy, as a mile-high quotation marks here, straight man, formed the first gay and lesbian alliance club in our high school. I have no further questions here. Holy.
And by the way, Tim Walz is not the first politician. In fact, it's been almost a hobby on the left to name Republicans that they think are closeted gay and then make fun of them for it for years and years and years and years and years. Like Lindsey Graham, obviously, being a big one that they've been doing this to for a very long time, right? That's always been the rumor about Lindsey Graham, right? Mm-hmm. But Lindsey Graham doesn't go out here and claim to be the straightest of straightest people who's ever straighted and is Mr. Football Coach masculinity, shooting guns, can kick everybody's ass. And if he did, that would be embarrassing. He sure doesn't say butthurt on stage a lot. And can you imagine if he did, how the left would react? They've been doing this closeted gay guy thing for years about every Republican they can get their hands on, sometimes maybe justifiably, sometimes not. But this idea that then they trot out this guy after them doing that with Republicans, and they put him out there and expect everybody to just
Well, and also, but they're also, it's funny how liquid their positions are, how fluid their positions are, because they're what do you mean? Tim Walz, he was Coach Tim. He's married to this woman, Dr. Mrs. Tim. And so you're supposed to think, oh, okay.
And they got very pregnant twice by the method that doesn't involve anybody having to have sex.
Exactly. But meanwhile, Lindsey Graham, he's not married and he's 65. Now, that might be good enough for that all he needs about Lindsey. Lindsey Graham has never said, and I've talked to him a bunch of times and always enjoyed it, he's never said, mind your own damn business. They don't teach that in straight world. I'm sorry. They just don't.
Lindsey Graham is also highly competent, funny, and interesting.
I don't even know what Lindsey does, apart from any speculation for fun, but there's no way his hunting trips look as bad as how cruel is it that they got to make this guy do all this stuff? Can you just let him be Tim Walz? Just let him be who he really wants to be, which is the guy who probably I'm going to speculate makes the freaking spiciest, best effing Mexican casseroles on the face of the earth. I bet you Tim Walz was looking at Kamala's talk about the spices she used to cook and was like, please, freaking out We can cook you in a second, lady.
Does part of you feel bad for Tim Walz a little bit?
A little bit, because he belongs to the party of tolerance and he's not allowed to be himself.
He has to fake a whole life for some reason.
I mean, just talk about faking. That's why Bernie has some cachet. AOC is a dummy.
She's also what you see is what you get, though, like Bernie.
What you see is what you get. She's also somebody who assumed doors opened for her because she fought twice as hard as other women or other people, certainly white men. She had to fight twice as hard. She never for one moment puts it together that the
door's open for her because she's an upper middle class, gorgeous girl with every opportunity and a fancy college degree and all the things.
Exactly. From a long line of very attractive colonizers. Right, exactly.
Girl, your last name is Cortez. Like, maybe sit out the colonizer conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Hitler, but man, it's in the conversation. I think we should do the chat also.
Can we just, really quick before we do that, because I want to talk about a few things that are happening in England in the Patreon show. Can we really quick before we do that, do the Rosie O'Donnell cut that I sent us too, as we talk about Democrats who aren't handling this well right now, and other members of the community, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You remember? I mean, yeah, Trump attacked her this week, but she was
Rosie? He did?
Well, wasn't he he was talking to the Taoiseach or whatever, however we say that word. I think somebody called in and told us how to pronounce it.
The Taoiseach?
The Irish Prime Minister.
Oh yeah.
About her.
Okay, I'm going to take a point of privilege because I had to drive in Boston today for a long time, and it was very tough. This is my favorite new thing. This is excellent. This is why, this is why you can't, certain people maybe shouldn't be in certain jobs. This is a Boston city councilor. Have you seen this? Do you know what I'm playing?
I'm not sure what you're
This is on the bike lane debates. This city councilor, this lady, who's a white woman, possibly is mildly rotund. Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
And she is going to talk to you. What happened to her? Something awful happened to her, Alice.
Someone behind me said you...
While she was riding a bike. This is why they need special safety.
Someone behind me said, "You better move, you fat B word," behind me while I was biking in an area that did not have a protected bike lane. And I do need to share that there's a lot of trauma.
How fantastic is that?
Is she going to be less fat if there's a bike lane?
She'll be protected from insults. Fatty will be protected from insults. So this is what her takeaway should be from this.
Someone behind me said, "You better move, you fat B word."
The takeaway should not be fat B word because she is fat. I don't know whether she's a B word. Takeaway should be...
If she's a Boston city councilor, my guess is probably...
Takeaway should be that you better move. Learn to move. Learn to not be in the way, which in Boston today where we were was incredible to see how crippled the city is from safe streets. Oh, we'll get to that later. So she's my favorite. You wanted Rosie?
Yep. Give me Rosie on Irish TV. Speaking from exile.
It is funny. Rosie O'Donnell was just beloved 20 years ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Remember she was in the Tarzan movie?
Was she?
She played one of the monkeys.
She did?
She voice acted.
Oh.
Yeah, Tarzan's little monkey friend. Yeah.
A lot of people did vote for him.
Yes.
Do you accept their right to do that and their opinion of him?
Well, I respect their right to do that. I question why the first time in American history a president has won every swing state and is also best friends, and his largest donor was a man who owns and runs the internet. So I would hope that that would be investigated and that we would see whether or not it was an anomaly or something else that happened on election night in America when Kamala Harris was filling up stadiums with people who supported her, and Donald Trump was not able to do that. So it's curious to me, and as an American and a believer in democracy, I would hope that we would be able to look at all of the reasons why this happened in our country.
They definitely, I'll tell you one
Election
thing.
denialism coming right back. They are.
Oh, yeah.
They're not Doubting election results is right back.
But she's the original Pizzagator. She's the original 8chan, whatever. She was on primetime midday. We won't call it primetime, but midday's primetime. Biggest show 25 years ago saying fire doesn't melt steel down the street from where 9/11 happened. I mean, that's content. She was remarkable.
It's interesting, too, just like seeing the time away from things. I mean, I think Bush v. Gore was the first election night where I like stayed up to watch election results and like saw it happen live. So that was like a weird year to do that, obviously, because I had like crossings out on my map after they got called in one direction or the other.
You had a map that you crossed out?
I was coloring in the states as they were calling them on my map. So Florida got messed up.
You didn't have a hot party to go to on the Tuesday night, or?
I was like in 7th grade.
Well,
8th grade.
See now. South Carolina falls to Bush.
I was in 8th grade. It was a Tuesday in 8th grade. What did you expect me
The boys
to
must have been knocking down your door to see you. Pardon me, I'm using my map. Where's my map?
Well, anyway, it got all messed up because this is the first year I had tried to do this. And of course, everything got ruined by Florida in 2000. And it's interesting now because it's funny, like I see sort of these threads of younger people on the internet, like on Reddit or wherever, talking about Bush v. Gore. And it's funny because they'll be like, oh my God, didn't they like have recounts or something? And people will be like, yeah, but they stopped the recount. That's why a lot of people think Gore really won.
Right.
Like that. But it's all this like half knowledge of what happened, this sort of like vague mythology. Like you can see the vague mythology being created in real time because people don't remember something that happened 25 years ago. And it's like funny to see it happen because that's one of the first political things that I remember literally living through and it happening. And like Gore tried and took it through all these courts and they tried to count all these things and like they just literally they tried everything, but they couldn't get the ballots to make it look like Gore won.
Yeah, he kept
They
not
tried
winning.
everything. Like he didn't win the state. Like I don't know what to tell you guys. It was pretty close, but like what do you want to do? But it's funny to see the mythology like rehashed through the lens of, and I knew like all these boomer parents in my town where I lived that was really liberal that had like the bumper stickers like let's not elect him in 2004 either. And all these things because that was the mythology was that he didn't really win in 2000.
Selected, not elected.
Right. So it's funny because then that all got forgotten, of course, immediately when Trump did the January 6th stuff, and then it became like a crime to doubt election results. But they didn't believe the Trump 2016 election results. They didn't believe the Bush 2000 election results. They didn't in my adult lifetime, they've literally never believed an election result.
No.
So it's just funny to see them go back to that immediately. And I like wonder what young people are thinking. Like when they've like been now, they came up and their first political experience was being told that doubting election results is like the most threatening thing you can do to our democracy.
Remember when they got a hold of their first station, when Air America was on the air, it was Janine Garofalo and Randy Rhoads, and I think Al Franken had a show, and Rachel Maddow had a show, and a couple of others, and they were wall to wall. It was wall to wall Diebold machines. That's it.
That was a whole big thing.
And that was just, and what they were saying sounded just like what NPR was saying. Diebold machines, stolen election, Diebold machines, stolen election, no weapons of mass destruction. Bush
lied, people died.
Exactly.
No war for oil.
I
knew somebody with that bumper sticker.
And these people now, like considerate people, the silent riot people, they have been watching and listening to Rachel Maddow now for 25 years. Saying, wow, she's really smart. What a thinker. Wow, that is really... I mean, that's their Main Street influence. And you can say, okay, then the right listens to Steve Bannon's War Room. Some do. Like, not everybody.
Yeah. they have their version of Steve Bannon's War Room on a quote serious cable network every day, and on state paid for radio for some reason.
Can we do the chat, Allison?
Yeah, let's head to the chat. Let's do it.
Hey guys, hear me out for a few seconds. I thought last week was the best 5 shows in a row for a particular week that you've had in over a year. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the show wasn't just so politically driven up until the chat.
I don't remember. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember specifically all the things we talked about, but I remember commenting with you last week sometimes when we talked about other stuff, like, oh, that was a nice break from talking so much politics.
That is true. We have been, I think we started to feel an exacerbation.
We're sick of winning.
Well, no, an exacerbation with,
I like feeling.
with, sometimes the news cycle just fails you, lets you down, and it was, sometimes you're locked in the same... There's not anything more to say.
We can only read Facebook posts from people in Melrose so many times.
Well, it is. In those, that's different. But how many more soccer players are in gay hairdressers am I going to read about at this prison and else? Like, all this stuff needs to settle sometimes, and it'll take a few days or a week, whenever to settle, and then you could make a thing. But also, some of it is not that. I don't want to get locked into continuing resolution quicksand. I'm not a policy wonk. I'd rather put a gun on my mouth than go through, which items can be need to be done before the whatever. I don't even know the words. Although we should play some Rand Paul. That was good.
I think you guys maybe averaged about 10 to 15 minutes of political talk last week per show, and then the rest of the topics were spread out. You talked about other things that were going on, like entertainment and music, or one of Tom's stories paved the way for a bunch of laughs and a good segment.
Oh, and maybe not dislike, but don't believe. So maybe that's different. Maybe he enjoys them, even if he doesn't fully take them at face value.
Steve has a chalkboard. It's like the size that Karl Rove used to have, and he wipes that thing. I think that was
like a little whiteboard. Yeah,
he wipes it clean every day.
Oh, that was a bad look for him in 2012. Do you remember that?
Oh, when he got upset and went into the back to yell at Starwalt.
He was like, "It's still possible."
I think that variety was really refreshing and welcoming, and what it also did was cut down on the verbal crutches. The rights, the totallys weren't happening as much because, Alice, you weren't so pissed off at the left and the lunacy and, what they're trying to do to stop President Trump. And a lot of your rights come out when you are a little bit upset, when your blood pressure is a little bit higher, when you're trying to make your points or educate us.
Remember, she's also
just a psycho.
A woman and prone to hysteria. So this should be a fainting couch.
I have the wandering uterus right now.
Alice, Jesus.
Always that verbal crutch, and then it leads into Tom's verbal crutches that he says a lot, like, oh, totally.
Wait.
So I think having that...
Oh, totally.
How are your verbal crutches my fault? I lead into your verbal crutches.
Because an unstable, hysterical woman creates instability for everything and everybody else. I can see Pepper very nervous sometimes when you're having one of your what do you have?
Episodes.
Your episodes. That's right.
Variety, up until the chat was just really, really amazing, and I hope you guys consider doing that, going forward. 10 to 15 minutes of political talk, bring up other topics. I think it really makes for a far better show.
I don't know that there's any formula like that we go. The most important thing is, Steve, thank you very much for the extremely backhanded compliment, I think. But you were right on when it came to Alice. But we talked about what we talked about tonight. We've been talking about it all day long and much more stuff for the show. And we have to be interested in, or it's hard to get traction in.
Yeah, I think that's a thing for us. It's like, sometimes we feel like the political takes get stale. Like everybody's doing the same take on the news of the day. And sometimes we're just tired of it. Like we don't want to do it. So we want to talk about what we want to talk about. And ultimately...
Alice, we need Toasty on, by the way.
Yes. Read our book again today.
We needed to, okay. But yes, we are, thank you, Stephen. Thank you.
I think.
Can you run this doctor rant by me again?
Doctor?
What was that you were saying about people who have doctor in front of their name? Don't worry, I'm not an MD, and I don't have a PhD, and I'm not a chiropractor.
Oh, Dr. Cheswick, say.
Yeah, but it's Dr.
It's a
Cheswick.
nom de plume.
But you
I'm
also
fine with you, Tom.
Thank you.
Yelled at people who go by doctor something.
They shouldn't be. These superintendents who all suck, they gotta stop. Stop. It's Dr. T. Hi, well, we've looked at the accumulation, and it looks like, well, we'll get about 1 or 2 inches before, so we're going to delay school today. Oh, you can be the funny voicemail guy or doctor. You can't be both. They got to change that. You need to change that. And I say that as somebody who's very beloved headmaster at Austin Prep, passed away while I was in school.
Wow.
By the way, who was named doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Who, of course, back then it was all male. All the all-male students of 1988 Austin Prep all started to chant during the day when the news was fresh, ding dong, the doctor's dead.
So we had my high school principal's name was Dr. Jones.
Oh, that's too good.
I know. So that was said a lot in a very offensive accent, a lot in my high school.
That's good for your high school for knowing that.
Well, I mean, that was like really before wokeness like really struck. I mean, South Park was still popular and everything. You know what I mean? Like people were offensive and racist. So
well,
there
hold
was
on.
a
What are
lot
you thinking of?
Short Round? Dr. Jones?
But the Nazis called him that too.
Oh, we didn't do
Jones.
Nazi accents. We did the Short Round accent. That was
what
probably.
did that sound like?
No, I'm not doing that.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. That's interesting.
But yeah, no, definitely Dr. Jones. That was enjoyable for people in my high school for sure.
By the way, did the ghosts and all the spirits at the end of the Indiana Jones, were they like pissed off at the Nazis, or was it just a matter of luck that the Nazis opened it and not the Allied forces? Did they hate Nazis?
It's actually, well, the Nazis specifically were after these like occult objects. That's like an actual historical fact. So like the Nazis wanted the Ark of the Covenant and things like that, and like the chalice. They wanted these sort of like mythical objects as a part of their like building their mythology, right?
Okay,
that was like an actual thing. So
okay, so
but Indiana Jones was like in their way because he wanted them for like the sake of archaeology and science.
Okay, so if India had opened it, would they have whacked him out too?
Well, he knew not to look.
Okay, but would they have whacked him out had they found a way to make him look?
Like, would looking at the Ark of the Covenant have killed Indiana Jones?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a whole episode in the Bible where a bunch of people try and worship at the Ark of the Covenant the wrong way, and the earth swallows them up. Like, you can't go just look at God. That's what the Ark of the Covenant is.
I mean,
it's
obviously.
the throne of God.
I could tell that you had something to say about this because I saw that there's only twice during this show that you've been excited. One was map night during the election of 2000 and one when you could browbeat me for assuming you could just look at the visage of God.
I mean, Moses talked to God face to face, and then he had to wear a veil the rest of his life because people couldn't just look at him. Do you know what I mean?
Do I have detention today, Dr. Alice? A-hole. Oh, my God.
But yeah,
so high and mighty. The same high and mighty chick, by the way, ran across a parking lot today to chase down a rolling Truly. This is a 38-year-old mother of 5 sprinting down a Newburyport parking lot. The Truly had fallen out of the car. Her son noticed it roll. It rolled down the parking lot. Alice sprints, it had burst, so it was a geyser, and Allison attached it to her mouth, like Dylan's harmonica, and just worked it so that she could get every bit of Truly out of it while sitting in the car. But she's going to lecture you, by the way. We're all you can't just behold the visage.
I mean, I definitely am not worthy to behold the visage of God. Jeez, do you think God wants me to look at him? Like, what?
More bit cells. There we go.
That's the problem.
All your God material. And then, that's right. Well, then it comes, so it's November 5th,
Julian
2000.
will say Alice reminiscing about pie. Very exciting.
Oh, so you serious? Julian Field, don't even get her started.
I have a book about pie.
You get her and her two sisters together to outdo each other in how many after decimal numbers they can come up with after pie. It's vicious. Sorry to everybody in Newburyport today at the Port Plaza. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
As a nice, pretty blonde woman waiting for 67 sandwiches from McDonald's sprinted across her Truly, which I think there was like 15 more of, so we didn't. That really shook you. Threw you for a loop, Alice, at an unmapped night, huh, in 2000? Because what happened was, first Florida seemed to fade blue, but then, just as I had finished shading blue in, I had to unsheath my eraser. Because as it turns out,
colored pencils are like not even erasable. Screwed up my whole night.
That's the point, Alice. I'm sure that's. You don't know the erasability of colored pencils? Congratulations to your 8th grade dance date. Mom, he's a fraud. He thought you could erase a green-colored pencil. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Will you stop laughing?
No.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Another great Tom moment from Thursday night's episode. Somebody makes a comment in the chat about McHale's Navy, and Alice says, "What's McHale's Navy?" And Tom says, "Oh, it was a TV show. You know, Gomer Pyle was in it."
You okay, Al?
No, he was not, Tom. Gomer Pyle was never in McHale's Navy. Jim Nabors never made one screen appearance in McHale's Navy. He was in McHale's Navy about as often as Brian Jones played saxophone in the song Satisfaction. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a mistake. I was called out on that for somebody else. So apparently it was no, that is true. McHale's that was
At this point, it's like a rule. Like if you say
Gomer
somebody's
Pyle.
in something or like list a name from something, it's like guaranteed to not be true.
No, that's not true. So that was
I feel like it is.
That was Ernest Borgnine. It was in McHale's Navy and some other young dude, but it was essentially Gomer Pyle of
Trish's episode title: "Colored Pencils Are Teeth."
I don't say it. Try to enunciate now, Alice. Tell us again.
Trish says the episode title should be "Colored Pencils Aren't Even Erasable."
Duh. Hello. Did you hear that Brian thinks colored pencils are erasable? Is he truly human? Oh.
I'm crying right now.
Did it give out? Is that why I'm not hearing somebody?
What?
Hold on.
What are you saying?
Hold on. Hold on. Let's try this again. I don't think this is working. It's anonymous, which means it's usually Steve. This didn't work.
I have like tears on my nose.
Hold on.
Can you run this doctor rant by me again?
Okay, so that was. All right, here's the last one.
Okay.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Can we rent Tom a saxophone? Because I want to see him attempt to play Satisfaction, the riff from Satisfaction on the saxophone. It'll probably be like the equivalent of playing Flight of the Bumblebee on the saxophone. Okay,
Incorrect.
With the help of God, you'll actually blow your liver out the end of the sax by the time you're finished. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Obviously, if you are on Patreon, stay there. If you want to join that, you can. It's patreon.com/burnbarrel. We have live streams every day.
From the mind of Mindy Kaling.
And you can get some extra content each week. We're going to do a little of that extra content right now. I want to talk about some of the things going on in England at the moment, including their own student loan crisis.
To us LGBTQI+.
See you on the other side.